Be the one they can't stop thinking about after the breakup. Hello there, I'm Coach Abby. Thank you so much for joining me once again on Love Advice TV. Love Advice TV is a channel that has been created exclusively for you to assist you in navigating through any relationship challenges. So, this video is a subject that, what can I say? It excites people, doesn't it? Just the thought that they're thinking about you, because it taps into a secret desire we all share after a breakup. And that is to live in our ex's mind full time, rent-free. It's amazing. Let's be honest. You want them to think of you, when they wake up, when they hear a song, when they're with someone else. You want them to compare them to you. You want to be unforgettable. We all do. And it's okay. But now, with, kidding aside, here's the truth. Making your ex obsessed with you isn't about games or manipulation. It's about creating an emotional and energetic imprint so strong, so unique, that they cannot stop thinking about you. So, by the end of this video, I hope you will know exactly how to build that presence. It's doable. Let's get going. Let's start with psychology. So why do some people stay in our minds long after the breakup? First, it's emotional imprint. Our brains lock into the emotions tied to someone, not just the events. If the emotion was intense, the memory lingers. Also, we have unfinished story. Humans crave closure. When something feels unresolved, the mind plays it over and over. We have also the contrast effect. If someone offered an experience others can't match, that laughter, that passion, that depth, they become unforgettable. And we have novelty and mystery. The brain pays attention to what feels unique or incomplete. If you embody growth and mystery, your ex's mind sort of stays hooked. So your goal isn't to haunt your ex. Absolutely not. It's not about punishing. It's hopefully staying in their minds. It's to create an emotional and energetic imprint that feels magnetic and unfinished in the best of ways. So let's talk about different unforgettable presents. So to be the one your ex can't stop thinking about, you must really cultivate certain behavior patterns. And one of them is emotional elevation. What is that? When we become associated with positive emotions, with joy, with calm, with excitement, with sexiness, with playfulness, all of these things, every interaction should leave them feeling better than before. Then we talk about our growth transformation. This growth glow everyone talks about. It's a transformation. It captures attention when they see or hear about your growth. And they do, whether through social media, whether through friends, whether, you bump into them, physical, emotional, spiritual growth, whatever, always spikes curiosity. Then we've got what I refer to as the scarcity. And space and always creates a constant presence. Isn't that interesting? Its absence sharpens your presence. It's almost like there's so much said in silence. Your distance creates a hunger to know what you're doing, who you're becoming. And we always have what I refer to as the need to keep certain things mysteriously. Now, this is not about playing games, but just don't overshare. Let them wonder about you. Keep always something for them to come back to. You don't reveal all your cards. You keep things, so that they're curious. Mystery is oxygen for attraction. I heard that somewhere and I loved it because it's so true. Depth makes you unforgettable. When you see that all of a sudden your ex starts circling back to you again and again, it's interesting how you look back and you can find those components as a trigger point for them. Sometimes we're not even too sure. Are we doing it the right way? Are we able to really, keep our distance without looking cold and what have you? I truly believe that it is so important to be able to define and clarify where we are. So, perhaps it's the perfect moment to take the free assessment questionnaire below. And that assessment questionnaire, it is to highlight your strongest areas. And most of all, where you need to focus. It's so important for us to do our internal homework so we know what grade we're in. It's free. It's for you. It's done for the purpose of assisting you in reaching your goals. So for now, let's focus a bit on magnetic mind tricks you can implement to become unforgettable. So what do I mean by tricks? Anchor positive emotions. When you interact at any time, you keep things light, you keep it warm and uplifting. Make them associate you with relief, not heaviness. We have to redefine their memory of you. You stop repeating old patterns. It is such a thing that most of my clients, for whatever reason, I just want you to know I'm not the same. I don't do that anymore. I don't. And I'm like, please don't talk about that. They're not thinking about that. You just made them remember. What you do is you surprise them. You surprise them with certain calmness, with certain confidence, something they didn't expect. And one of them is demonstrating that you're living unexpectedly. So what does that mean? You've traveled somewhere that they knew you wanted to go, but you did it. You did it by yourself. You took a solo trip. You did a cruise with friends. You went to family vacation, whatever it might be. But what you need to remember is you need to create that novelty of sorts in your life, because that sparks their curiosity. Well, they can't be that hurt if they're doing this. Well, they can't be that stuck on me if they're, it's so important. They need to have that feeling that you are no longer seeing them as your priority. We have to learn the power of using silence powerfully. And what I mean by that, so they reach out, don't rush to reply. You have to demonstrate that you are not always available. Silence leaves a very special space for their mind to wander back and forth, for them to ruminate. Let them be curious. We don't have to give them the answer to the test. No. Let them think, well, I wonder if they're doing this. Well, I wonder if that. I wonder if their family member came. I wonder if they're, whatever it might be. That curiosity is what triggers them. You have to showcase your growth, but indirectly. You don't have to, tell them what you're doing or how you've changed. You exhibit it. You exhibit it through your behavior. You exhibit it by not even reaching out, and when they do, your energy does the talking. Each of this is a psychological hook of sorts that keeps you in their mind. So you might be wondering, how do I apply all this, in unique situations? And honestly, once again, these videos are done with lots of love, but they're organic. I don't know the backstory of your particular situation. So, it might be a moment that you might consider booking a one-on-one session, because only through a private session can we dive into your exact situation and identify the shifts that will make you unforgettable to your ex. It's important to design strategies to elevate your presence and to ensure you become that one person that they can't stop thinking about. You got to think of it as sculpting a version of yourself that is magnetic, not just to your ex, but to life itself. I can't reiterate it enough. Your success is my success. It is always my pleasure to help guide you with this or any other challenge you may be experiencing. Breakups are not easy. They're not for sissy guys. We all know this. But let's get back a little bit to the science by pulling back the curtain, a tinge on neuroscience. I don't consider myself a master in this subject, but I've been around it long enough and learned enough to be able to feel its direct correlation with reattracting an ex back. So we've got the dopamine novelty. The brain craves novelty. When you show growth, their dopamine spikes. And their mind connects that feeling with you. They're seeing someone all of a sudden that they can't decipher. You're not that predictable anymore. That's sort of attractive. We always want to be kept guessing up to a certain extent. And they go into that memory loop. The more unfinished a story feels, the more the brain replays it. By creating mystery, you live in their mental loops. And this is why someone can't stop thinking about you, even if they try. The brain wires itself to crave the feeling you give. Yet here's the most exciting part of really, truly becoming unforgettable. It isn't just about your ex. It's about stepping into a version of yourself that leaves a lasting impression on anyone you know, everyone. It's all of a sudden your friend, I see you differently. Your colleague says something differently. You get all of a sudden all kinds of offers. Maybe you want to do this. Maybe you want to do a TED Talks. Well, maybe, all of these amazing things, on a professional level, on a private level, and on your personal level, obviously, it just trickles off. There's that trickle effect when we are in a good place. People admire your presence. In your career, you all of a sudden see yourself attracting all kinds of opportunity. And, it also trickles when you're dating others. And this is a sensitive subject here because, we're talking about getting our exes back, and that's true. But there is nothing wrong, once again, not knowing your backstory, with dating after a breakup. And what I mean by that, you would basically think that, oh, but Abby, I'm waiting for them and this and that. And I don't want to date someone new. People put too much into what dating really is. And dating is the opportunity to gather data about each other. And one of the fortunate things to do when you're on a breakup and date someone, you start seeing how they relate to you as well. It might even help you to be able to tweak those issues that you need to do. And you also realize that even though you love your ex amazingly and want them back, there's an amazing amount of wonderful people out there. So that even makes us stronger in our choices to work on ourselves. We have to remember that if our ex is dating someone, or you're dating someone, it's not a mortal sin. Remember that when we break up, we relinquish rights to each other. So dating is it's completely acceptable. And I don't know why there's such a taboo around it. You might not want to get yourself involved in an emotional situation because you're just not ready, but it has nothing to do with your ex. I always like to remind my clients that they are not being immoral by dating while in a breakup. Everything else is left to interpretation. But if they broke up with you or you broke up with them and you decide to date someone, it's not being unfaithful. Once again, we've relinquished rights to each other during the breakup period. So in closing, what I'd like to provide is a recap of today's theme. And specifically for this video, I want you to please remember that in order to be that one person your ex can't stop thinking about, you must create certain emotional elevation. You need to radiate growth. You need to use the space and scarcity wisely. And you need to embody mystery and depth. You do this, and you're not chasing your ex's attention. Trust me, you're captivating their mind and their hearts effortlessly. And this is not manipulation. I don't like manipulation games. I don't suggest them ever. And I think my clients can attest to that. This is authentic transformation, and that's why it lasts. So, once again, thank you for joining me today on Love Advice TV. Please don't forget to like and subscribe for more tips on personal growth, on mending broken relationships, and everything in between. Until next time, I'm Coach Abby.